let's say you want to get up to speed, right? Watch this. 50, 60, 70, 80. I mean, guys, this is a massive truck, right? Still an F-150. Still weighs almost 6,500 pounds. But boy, does this thing have the power. Unreal. And when you launch it, it actually spins the tires. My name is Adam and welcome back to Driven Nashville. If you happen to be new to the channel, we produce weekly enthusiast and truck content. Specifically on this review, we're talking about the brand new Ford Lightning EV in the Lariat chassis. I'm gonna tell you everything you probably wanna know if you're looking to buy a Ford Lightning. We're gonna do the exterior, we're gonna do the interior. I'm gonna demonstrate BlueCruise on a point of view drive. I'm gonna show you all the fun truck features of it, right? Here's the problem, guys. This is a $70,000 truck as it sits. Has about 580 horsepower and 775 foot-pounds of torque. It can tow 10,000 pounds. The problem with this, though, is this is not the extended battery range edition. I would highly encourage you to get the battery, the 131 kilowatt battery, because that gives you a stated range of about 300 to 330 miles. Now, this has about 230 stated miles. Now keep in mind, you're not gonna get that, especially if you're running the AC on a hot day like today. I'll give you an example. I was just at Electrify America. Looks like you can charge it here. However, this one on this particular truck does not appear to be usable. I had to connect the cable in and out 3 times. I initially started with this one and it did not work. Then I started with this one and it, for some reason, would not connect to the vehicle. So then I went back to this one. Finally was able to get this connected. It would not use the reader, but you would go ahead and click into your wallet and then you'd hem that and then it would scan. As you can see, this is just keeps saying try another payment method. I had to scroll down and find this exact specific charger. All right, guys, as you can see here, we delivered 53 kilowatt hours. We were here for 33 minutes. We charged ourselves with tax $11.67. I charged this thing up to 80% and it said I had just under 170 miles of range. If you try to tow up to 10,000 pounds, you're gonna really kill your range. So just keep that in mind. If you're gonna take a lot of road trips and you're gonna drive this thing a whole lot to your different work sites and whatnot, you're gonna have to factor in charging. All right, let's start off real quick with the exterior. This looks like an F-150, which I actually personally like. They didn't do something radically crazy like they are gonna do on the Cybertruck. This right here has these restyled lights. You can see they've closed all of this off. This is still open to allow some air through, but overall, this is all about wind and just making sure it's more slipstream. As you can see here, the body panels, they look really good. Very nice build quality, no weird panel gap issues like you're gonna find on all the Teslas of the world. They did give you a Lightning here. They also gave you a little American flag and a Lightning symbol here. And then they finished off this red bar here. All right, guys, let's look at the functionality of this truck, which is really important. First of all, you could open up the rear with the key. 2 clicks there. It is fully electric. It goes up and down. And then you can also open up the front trunk, also with 2 clicks. Now, I think that is really, really cool. Look at the amount of space you get with the front trunk. Absolutely love it. You can also lift this up right here, which then slots right into this spot right here. You can use this for tailgating. This actually has a built-in drain plug. Again, a really, really nice feature in addition to all the space. Plus, you get 4 120 volt outlets, a USB-C here as well, and a USB cable. Guys, that's a lot of practicality. And then when you're done, you just go ahead and close it by hitting that. Now coming to the back here, also a ton of good usable features in this truck. You do have Ford's patented step-up system. Again, the Rivian R1T did not have this. This thing works really well. You also have what I think is super, super cool. You have a 240 volt charger. You know, this is for your really big power tools of the world. And they give you another 220 volts there and another 120 volt chargers here. Awesome, love that. They also give you lights back here and 4 anchor points. Now this is a 5'5" bed. You can go ahead and order this with a different spray-in liner. This particular truck does not have it. But still, the amount of technology and features they give you is quite nice. This is actually able to be put down pretty much with one hand. I was a fan of this on my last truck that I owned, which was an F-150 Roush Raptor. Now, when you're done with this as well, all you got to do, guys, hit that twice, and you can go home. Absolutely love those as truck features. All right, guys, let's take a look at the interior of this car. Now, before we do that, you can see here you do have your key code that you can program if you want to leave your keys in the vehicle. Now, this right here is the Lariat trim package. So this is not your platinum package, which would have massage seats and an even upgraded leather. It would also have the moonroof up here. As you can see, this does not have the moonroof. However, with the Lariat trim, you do get nice leather seats. They are two-tone. They're perforated, which allows you to have cooled and heated seats. As you can see here, a little bit of nice wood trim they give you, although I gotta say this doesn't have any texture to it. The buttons here, all this is plastic. This is kind of that kind of plasticky material. So not a lot of frills. You do get the B&O sound system, which is nice. That same material here is also carried on here and here as well, as you can see. As you walk into the vehicle does play a movie. Kinds of storage options. As you can see here, lots of space. You can keep some change there. You also have the ability to open this up, so if you want to put like a laptop here, do some writing, do some contract signing, etc. You get 2 cup holders here and 2 cup holders here. This is not sponsored by Subway. That's just what I had for lunch today. You also get a USB-C and a USB cable right there, in addition to phone charging. Now, with the Lariat package, you do get the ability to shift right here. If you get the XLT package, you're gonna have the gear selector right here, as you guys have seen in previous trucks. Now, they do give you a 12 volt as well here, and they give you a 120 volt outlet built into the truck as well. All right, real quick, let's take a look at the back, because I know you're probably gonna have some kids back here if you're buying one of these trucks. Look at how much room I get. Plenty of room, guys. I'm 6 feet tall. Cup holders built in here. This also does open, which is nice, and you can see here, back here, you get another 120 volt charger. Fantastic for the, you know, gaming consoles of the world. And right here you get another USB-C and USB cable. Kind of notice they have this nice little polished trim here. You know, that's nice. It's probably just plastic, but still, I like that they included that. They also have the ability to hang your shirts, and they have a grab handle here if you're gonna take it off-road. All right, guys, we're in the F-150 Lightning. Let's go for a POV drive, shall we? So putting it in drive here is very similar to your gas-powered F-150. The truck will not go anywhere until you put your foot on the accelerator. We are off-road at this exact moment in time. I can tell you the suspension feels very much like an F-150, pretty gushy, can definitely absorb quite a few bumps. As you can hear, it's quiet. You can turn on with the Mach-E. You also have the same ability to turn on the pulse sound. I personally don't like it. It just sounds like an engineered V8. This is how I would drive the car, which is just enjoy the serenity and the quiet factor of having an electric car. Why does it have to make a sound? Frankly, it doesn't. I've enjoyed my Teslas in silence for many years, and I know once you get used to it, you will too. In fact, you'll have a hard time going back to a vehicle that has a loud exhaust note. Because once you're used to listening to audible books and having nice conversations with your spouse in a quiet vehicle, it's really hard to go back. Overall, first driving impressions though, it feels like an F-150 in every way. You sit up high, the steering feels very similar to the gas-powered truck that I used to own. The overall suspension feels very much like an F-150. The only really difference is the performance that this thing has on tap. I mean, you can land that accelerator pedal just a half an inch, and this thing wants to move. You can just feel that it has a lot more horsepower than your standard EcoBoost power plant, and because it does. I mean, it has 775 foot-pounds of torque. I mean, look. I mean, guys, you give it the beans, and this thing will scoot. You know, and it's dual motor, so it's always going to have, I'm gonna go this way, it's always going to be really good in the rain and really good in the snow. But overall, just driving out of this park here, it just feels so capable. And that's just something about electric cars. They may have somewhat crappy range and heavy batteries, but the way they drive, it's really hard for an internal combustion engine to compete. Even in this thing, it just, like when I was driving the Rivian and it had 900 foot-pounds of torque and ran to 60 in 3 seconds. Well, guys, this isn't that far off. It has 775 foot-pounds of torque and runs to 60 in 4.4. So really, that's damn good. I mean, just 10 years ago, that was supercar performance, right? And here we are, just in a mid-level F-150. You just gotta love that. Because if you are a driver, I'm telling you, you're going to enjoy the driving experience that this vehicle gives you. Just feels fun, you know, and here I am driving it out of some pretty bumpy roads here. The car's soaking it up. It's quiet. You can hear no rattling. The build quality of the interior seems to be very well done. Overall, first impressions on driving, fantastic. I think you guys are really going to enjoy driving this truck. I will tell you though, the brakes, they feel really good. That's one area of some of the EVs I've reviewed where it's hit or miss. The brakes either feel amazing or they just frankly suck. These brakes feel like your traditional F-150 brakes. All right, this is actually a really good road to demonstrate BlueCruise on. So this is an example of not being on the highway. You still have the capability of letting the car drive itself. You want to go ahead and hit that button right there, and now it's set. That's literally it. It's just this button right here, okay? At the end of the day, it's pretty darn simple. It's now self-driving itself at 41 miles an hour. I'm gonna go ahead and decrease it a little bit to 39 because we are rolling through Belmead here. This is one of the areas of Tennessee you just do not speed. So do 2 to 3 miles over the speed limit and that is it, okay? So you can see here, it's navigating the roads just fine. It's self-driving. It already came up with the message saying I had to jerk the steering wheel. You can see here, I've got to give it a little bit of a jerk. Now, because there's a motorcyclist or a bicyclist here, I'm having to take over. This does not have Tesla's capabilities where it can detect that and then slow down and eventually navigate around him. So we're going to have to do that manually. There's a car coming, so we're just going to have to be patient. But overall, BlueCruise, while it's never going to have FSD, it also doesn't cost you $14,000 or $15,000 like Tesla's now getting ready to charge for FSD. Because this truck has Apple CarPlay built in, and it is built into the truck. Navigate to Wyatt Johnson in Nashville.
Getting directions to Ford.
Boom. That, guys, rocks. So this has Android Auto and Apple CarPlay built in. I do not need to plug it into the truck, which is so nice. A lot of the EVs I've reviewed recently, you know, they've unfortunately required a cord. But in the end of the day, I gotta say, driving this truck, I mean, they nailed it. I mean, you would have thought that Ford was building electric vehicles for years. It's just effortless to drive. All right, let's just take a moment, guys, and talk a little bit about the infotainment system. So you can see here, when you click this either takes you out of your default mode or into your settings. So you can see you have normal, sport, off-road, and tow and haul for your drive modes. I do have one pedal enabled. This makes the truck much more livable. It also is going to extend the longevity of your brakes. If you turn that off, you're just going to have a really good effortless cruise, essentially, when you take your foot off of the accelerator pedal. You can see here you have a lot of 3D cameras. This works really, really well. You can also change the different settings here. This is really, really helpful. I mean, look at that. You even have a trunk camera. I love that. I do believe you can also get a media stick for recording as well. As you can see here, there are no previous recordings, but that is very, very neat. You can also see here, you can have access. This is how you're going to set, I believe, yep, you can see here. Well, let's see. Is that open? Yeah. Look at that. There it goes. So you can open up your truck from the inside as well. Let's just talk real quick about the Grabber HTS 60 tires. These are 275 front and 275 rear. I gotta say, these are nice. I like the design. They're metal. They're not cheap plastic. Although, if you want to take this truck off-road, you're probably going to put some all-country tires on this thing. Let's talk just a little bit about, okay, you love the truck, you think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, whatever, and you want to order one. Here's the problem. It's currently September 2022, and you can't even get on the list anymore to get a reservation for a Lightning. Ford has stopped taking pre-orders because they had such a backlog of people who wanted one, and they just can't produce enough of it due to the supply chip shortages mostly. I was talking to Wyatt Johnson, who let me borrow this truck. Big shout out to them, thank you. Guys, you can't even get one right now, and they've only had two in the last few months that have been delivered. So every single truck they get, and by the way, it's not just the electric trucks, EcoBoost, which is also about 70 grand loaded up, they can't get those either. So you're all, you know, every truck that essentially is delivered to the showroom is already pre-sold, whether it's an F-250, an F-150, doesn't matter. Now, some dealers are forcing a little bit of what they call ADMs, additional dealer markups, although Wyatt Johnson told me they are not. However, they really aren't selling many of them, so it's not a big deal. Now, if you happen to cancel your allocation or never move forward with it, this vehicle, if it was going to be sold to somebody else, would probably be, you know, ADMs of at least $5,000, $10,000, maybe even $20,000 over. And Wyatt Johnson told me that they've had people that have come in and actually offered $20,000 over for the demo truck, which is this one, and they still wouldn't sell it to them. So Ford's got to start getting these out into the marketplace so they can get supply and demand back in order. If you were wondering, will my Ford F-150 Lightning qualify me for the $7,500 EV tax credit? The answer is absolutely yes. Even with the recent Inflation Reduction Act, or the Build Back Better plan scaled down, whatever you want to call it, this ultimately, because they've sourced the parts, this is well under the $80,000 limit for SUVs and trucks. So you're going to be able to get the $7,500 tax credit as long as you keep the vehicle for 6 months. That is in the rules. Now, the other thing is, if you get the Platinum Edition, which is $90,000 MSRP, when you load it all up, you won't be able to get the $7,500 tax credit because that's considered over the threshold. So just keep that in mind. But with the Inflation Reduction Act, a lot of vehicles that used to qualify for the EV tax credit, like the Polestar 2, like the Kia EV6, like the Teslas back in the day, none of them qualify because of the battery sourcing materials and where they're actually manufactured. A lot of them are in the United States. However, Ford has you covered there, so hats off to that. The $7,500 tax credit sure makes this a lot more affordable, because if you think about it, it's a $70,000 truck that's actually $63,000. So a little bit better before you factor in taxes. And real quick, guys, I want to have a little heart-to-heart with you as well. Would you buy, I should say, a Lightning over an 801A Ford F-150 Raptor, which is about $16,000 more expensive than this exact truck. Although if you get the Platinum Edition, they're almost the same darn price. In fact, the Lightning's actually, I think, $4,000 more expensive. The honest answer is I would get the Raptor all day, every day. It's a better looking truck. You have the ability to tow and go a lot longer distances. Yeah, you're gonna have to put premium gas in it, and that is gonna add up, especially at $4 plus a gallon. But at the end of the day, the practicality of being able to tow on a daily basis and just not having to worry about adding 45 minutes to an hour charging stops on your trips, it just really depends on, you know, how are you going to use the vehicle. If you're just going to take it to work and back, and every once in a while tow the boat to the lake, you know, maybe a 30-minute trip there and 30-minute trip back, this has got everything you need and then some. You're going to save money on gas and everything. But if you're really a heavy user, you like to go off-roading, right? You like to tow things long distances, you like to take a lot of road trips, you're going to have to stick with the gas-powered trucks. They just don't have the technology and the range that you really need to make it a super usable truck. Well, guys, if you made it this far into the video, sincerely appreciate you watching, and I hope you learned something about the truck on the point of view drive. You got to see this thing launch. You can see how fast it is. I mean, 580 horsepower and 775 foot-pounds of torque is a lot of power. I mean, even 5-10 years ago, right, that was supercar territory. Now it just comes on a mid-level F-150. Unbelievable, right? It's really a great truck. And all the features, you know, the front trunk, the rear, there's a reason why these are going over MSRP. But here's the real problem. You can't get these. The Ford dealer has received two in the last 3 months. So these are really, really difficult trucks to get, and that is a problem.